The American Constitutional Republic, affairs of state in Oklahoma, the beliefs, principles, opinions, and views of people just like me. This is 3D Politics. Here we are again with creator and curator of Sooner Politics, expert on Oklahoma state government, David Van. And of course, founder and scholar at constitutionalgrounds.com, political leader, educational speaker, David Oldham, bringing us the constitutional focus. And then every week, right here, me, your fine host, your mood director, and comedic relief, Tommy McKay, former mayoral candidate here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Tonight, we've got an exciting show. Christian Bengal with the redo. We just ruined his audio last week, so hopefully we're going to have that fixed this week.
Who's Tom?
That's me. It's me. Everything's my fault. I got like 3 swords to fall on, and I fell on every one of them in order. So we hopefully have that fixed. But Christian Bengal's in the waiting room right now. Also, and I have a moral question I want to bring up, but he's got topics about McGirt in general, and then also a disagreement with Oldham on insurance regulations as far as vehicles are concerned. So we got to get into that again with Christian Bengal. I want to bring him into a moral question I have that's in general about panhandles. I want to talk about recruiting my music, arts, and entertainment ambassador. And also, I'm going to reinstate the sovereignty of 3D, the columns of 3D politics. But first, let's humanize ourselves. Boys, what'd you do this weekend that made you human? Admit it.
I sat home and I wrote articles.
Oh, my gosh. Van writes articles. Okay. So you're productive. That's understandable.
Yeah.
I worked in my shop.
Worked in your
shop. I'm fortunate I have a shop now that I can actually do some things at times, and so I worked in the shop. And oh boy, you should see the watermelon that we're growing. Thing is taking over the yard.
Hey, this has been a great year for gardening.
It is. We had a zucchini that didn't work. Something happened, but we got tomatoes, we got onions and potatoes coming up. A watermelon plant that's gonna have watermelons coming out our ears. It's gonna be great. But
he's a married man, Tom. He's
telling you what.
It's the wife who's doing all that work.
Oldham, you're super crunchy on your audio. I'll just have to tell you, but
really?
You know. Yeah, but I've got to say, do you know, I think it was the Japanese that grew the watermelon in clear plexiglass square containers. Did you ever hear that? Years ago?
Right, to make them square so
that they could transport more. That was very brilliant of those guys. So I can see now why I skipped humanizing ourselves last week.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody likes a humanoid, okay? Everybody likes a computer. Negative, they say. So this weekend, though, on the other hand, I went.
Fake news.
This is true news. I went to the shrine. You guys ever been to the shrine in Tulsa?
Which shrine? The Shriners Shrine?
Are you buying onions?
Yes, the Shrine Auditorium. Yes, I've been there a number of times.
See, I was thinking it was the Shrine in Prague, the Shrine to the Infant Baby Jesus.
God, poor Christian Bengal's waiting. No, I was in search of ISO, our music, arts, and entertainment ambassador. We got plenty of conservative testosterone around here. What we need is a liberal woman that's going to bring us things like arts and entertainment. So that is an entire segment that I will tell you right now. I've already tried to recruit 2 different ladies for this position, and so we're in the process of trying to build that segment into 3D Politics, where we're not just guys and we're not just politics. We also talk about music, arts, and entertainment, because I think that's culture is what drives our show, because we are downstream.
Yeah, hanging out with you guys is not cultural.
Also, my producers, they were pissed at me last week because I didn't promote my new book. My new book right here, Discrimination and Disparities, and you can say, oh yeah, Thomas Sowell. This is my new book. I just bought it. It's a great book. This is the book that teaches us all why critical race theory is wrong. Anyway, it's got all the stats in it. So I promoted my book. And without further ado, let's bring on Christian Bengal from last week. Let's bring him in, see what we've got here. See if it'll work. We're bringing him in. Christian Bengal, transporting Christian Bengal in at this moment. He's been waiting for 8 minutes. Poor guy. It's tough to do. No. Still waiting. Christian Bengal is coming around. I'm just sure.
He probably.
Oh, we have to
get a drink or something. Because...
No, Christian, you've got to unmute your video.
Yeah, let's get the video up and the audio, Christian.
Okay, we're beaming him in. It's a little bit difficult to hide non-video.
Need more power, Scotty.
I can't give you no more power, Captain. I can't give you no more flowers, Captain. I'm in love with Spock. There's got to be asked to start video. So Christian Bengal is caught in the vortex. Oh, there he is. There he is.
Hey.
Woo, that's
There's our
tight.
man.
Very difficult out there. So hopefully you survived the transporting into the show. Christian Bengal, are you there?
I heard him laugh.
Hold on. Are you there, Christian? Let's check your audio, Christian. Hello, Christian. Say words. Christian. Christian, say words.
Yeah, I don't think he can hear you, Tom.
Well, can you
it?
see me?
Yeah.
Can you see me, Christian Bengal? Can you see me?
No, not yet.
God.
His stuff is skipping around a little bit too, so he may be having trouble with his.
We have a huge problem. Can you see us, Christian Bengal?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Okay, we just now are hearing you now. Can you hear us?
Pick it up.
Yes,
Pick
I
it up.
can. Sorry about that, Tom.
Can you bring your volume
It's
up?
tough. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. We need more volume from your microphone. These are the difficulties of working in today's new technological world. Christian Bengal, say something.
Well, I should have stuck with my phone like I had last week
Your phone was a winner.
instead of using my wife's Mac.
Oh, okay.
I tried to fix the audio on our end, and I'll tell you, it is suffering on your end now. So say something real quick, and we got to bring you up in the audio as hard as we can, because audio is primary to picture. We're all beautiful, but we got to hear you.
Can you hear me better?
No, not really. Try
Little
going
bit.
into your settings and go into audio, and you can choose your earphones, and then you can bring yourself up. Take yourself off of automatic and bring the volume up.
Get yourself close to the mic. Are you just talking on your mic on your Mac?
He's just on the Mac mic.
Condenser mic on the Mac.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I did have my my AirPods in, but evidently when you guys brought me in, it couldn't-
Well,
I can-
Zoom will do that. What you'll have to choose the AirPods from Zoom. They'll have to see them in your computer.
I loved you next to the pool. With the phone. You want to try that?
Hey,
If we
we
have
can
to.
hear you real well now, Chris.
Oh,
Chris.
okay.
Yeah, this is much
there you
better.
go.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Tom, where'd you go?
Oh, sorry. Okay.
We finally
back.
got the sound fixed. Let's have a
I
show.
got scared. I had to go to the Jeffries tube. So, Christian Bengal, say something.
Can you hear me?
Okay, well, all right. We're gonna
okay?
go with it's just I thought we had
Go into your settings, go into audio, and turn your audio up. Take yourself off of automatic, and pull your audio up. If you might have to go in through video settings and then just click on the audio tab.
You're saying in the Zoom app, right, David?
Within the Zoom app, correct.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's the problem. I don't have the Zoom app. I joined through the through my.
Here's what I would suggest: is get on your phone and call us back.
Yeah, let's try that.
I can't hear you. We're not going to be able to do half an hour with Christian Bengal and claim we fix the audio if we can't hear you. It's just literally just call me on the phone.
Yeah,
call me on the phone.
Try doing just what you did last week, and we'll get you in.
Call me on the phone. So I do. Where did that thing go? I'm going to share this thing here. Can you guys see that thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what I am showing here is I am hiding that. Okay. There is what I continue to say is that we have more trouble with the people in our own neighborhood than we do who's the president. People argue Biden and Trump, and really it really doesn't matter. What's more of trouble is Tulsa World Opinion, July 17th. I've been a Republican, says this guy, for over 65 years. I don't recognize it representing the values it did when I joined the GOP. He must be talking about over 65 years ago, says Tulsa resident Jack Draper. And so what I said was, Tulsa resident Jack Draper has been a Republican for over 65 years and doesn't recognize it representing the values it did when he joined the GOP. Jack should have left the Republican Party when Ronald Reagan joined. That's when the times they were a-changin'. What have you been doing for 65 years, Jack Draper?
I wonder if he's related to Dan Draper, who Gary Richardson sent to prison for election fraud.
I'm just saying, look, you're like, oh, I don't recognize the GOP after 65 years, really? Well, congratulations. Of course you don't recognize it. That's when Ronald Reagan joined. So, all right, what do we got going on here? Let's see what we've got with Christian Bengal.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
That's better.
There
Yes.
we go.
Yes.
I need to get
Okay,
rid
so
of.
obviously I won't be using the back again.
All right. Wow. Okay, we've suffered a little bit of setback, but I did last week for 30 minutes for you, so I can certainly give you 10. Ladies and gentlemen, Christian Bengal, former candidate for city council in Tulsa, Oklahoma, here to talk about two main things. General fallout from the McGirt decision, which we'll get to in a minute. But first, from our discussion last week concerning the pulling over of a person for their vehicle, registration, and insurance, there was a disagreement between Bengal and Oldham specifically about something having to do with registration, insurance, and or papers was the comment. Bengal, set it up so we can get into this thing. Thanks for suffering the Zoom voodoo, and we're going to make it work one way or the other.
No, I appreciate you guys letting me come back again.
Here we go.
So Oldham, last week you said you and Van had a discussion right after I left about insurance, right?
I was listening.
You darn right I am. The compulsory insurance, right?
Right.
And the issue and I want to make sure, excuse me, I put this in context, Oldham, that you said that basically I was insuring myself and protecting myself by being out on the road. Basically, I wasn't following the law in regards to compulsory insurance so that I may pay for any damages I may inflict on other property, on other people and their property. It was basically I was insuring myself just to be out on the road. Is that what I understood? And that basically I was at the mercy of the other driver.
Yes. I mean, life is a dangerous place. Now, it's a little more complex than that.
Okay, but that's a yes. So that's a yes. So go on.
Life is a dangerous place.
So that's a yes.
And
basically.
the one thing that we cannot have in the United States is anything compulsory.
So before we go to that, so that's a yes, Mr. Bengal. Trying to give you as much deference as I can for the next half hour.
You're not going to go off on me, are you, Tom?
I could at any minute. I could. That's what I do. So I'm just trying to make sure to give you all Bengal asked for. Oldham, yes, yes was what he said.
Yeah,
yes. So here we go.
I appreciate the vanilla answer of yes. So the issue that I saw it as was that you were basically saying that my rights were circumvented by that other person, and the fact that I was following the law, and I get the compulsory issue, but the fact that it is a state law and it's a state statute that I'm required to at least maintain liability insurance, right? So that if I do damage to somebody else's property, I have the means and ways to pay for it, right?
Unless you're the Tulsa police, the city insures itself.
Correct, sir. Yeah, that is correct. The city is self-insured. That is correct.
Okay, all right.
I'd like to be.
That's good.
Go ahead. Who wouldn't be? But with the budget they have, they can. So my problem here is that if a person decides to drive a 2000 POS on the road with a paper tag, has no
resemble
insurance.
that.
Okay.
No, you don't, man.
POS. Go ahead. Oh, boy.
So
This is tough.
a guy driving a 2000 POS with a paper tag drives with no insurance out on the road recklessly, bangs into, let's say, Van's $50,000 car, right?
In your
Van
dreams.
Bangs into his $50,000 car. Then basically what you're saying here, Oldham, is that I, as the offended or the injured party, I suffer all of the financial sufferings of what somebody else did. Now, you talked about criminal negligence previously, right? And we all know that when it comes to vehicle accidents, it's hard to prove criminal negligence unless you have some nice party who decides to stop and be a witness to that criminal negligence. When the cops get there, there's always going to be two versions of the story, right? So my issue with the compulsory insurance is that while I understand the word compulsory is an issue, but it also is a protection to all of us as drivers out on the road, that most drivers won't be reckless when they get out there, because of course, if they have to pay for that insurance or pay for the damage that they do to somebody's property, their insurance rates will go up, of course. And then, that gets counted against you somewhere in the neighborhood of, 2 to 3 years, right, in your rates.
Yep.
The other problem is that if this other person didn't have insurance and they ran into Van's car, $40,000-$50,000 car, Van now has to go through not only, you talked about tortious acts, right? Mm-hmm. So if this person doesn't have insurance, first off, and the paper tag on the back, most likely they're not going to have any kind of job to where they could pay that back. So if you went to court and sued them, you still have to collect on that judgment, right? Yeah, and if this person has an apartment, right, that paper tag car they could barely afford in the first place, right? They live in an apartment. So how are you going to collect that?
Perhaps we could have a governmental, like a law that isn't. You have to have a job.
Well, that may be, Tom.
I mean, if we can force you to have insurance, let's just force you to have a job.
I get all the arguments. The only problem is...
Sorry, I couldn't. I did the best I could. Go ahead.
Yeah, but if you have a kid who's making only $10 an hour, right? And this is his car and his means and ways to go to and from work, right? The issue is you're not going to be able to come back at this kid and get anything out of that $10.25.
You can't do that now.
I understand that, David.
But here's my
point. Let Oldham fire off here.
And here's the point. I mean, the TV is replete with commercials where people can't afford insurance and they're having to choose between food for their children and driving their car, and they're on the bus. That is literally a commercial on the TV. David's nodding his head. He's seen it.
Yeah.
Okay. These people have the right to drive. The only reason they can't is because they are being prohibited by an artificial artifact of the government that has placed the poorest among us out of the ability to participate like those who have a little bit more means. Now, the thing is that we are all to have the same means, and quite frankly, if I and my junker hit you in your $50,000 car, you're still subject to the damage to your car. You're still subject to the damage to your body. You're going to wear that as long as you live. Now, I know the desire to get me, but the point is, insurance is to make the individual whole, not the other people. And when you take insurance and you do insurance the correct way, and we got this way because insurance companies wanted to make a fortune by being able to extort every single driver on the road, and that was the only reason.
Hold on.
The thing is that when we do it correctly, we understand life is dangerous. There are lethal weapons out on the road that could hit us at any time. We acknowledge that, and then we bear the responsibility of putting ourselves into those situations where somebody can and will be negligent or reckless and criminally so oftentimes. And the insurance is there to make us whole when that happens. And the problem is, and also it gets out, it ends all the torturous court problems of who's responsible. Because it doesn't matter.
If I could just reiterate, you're listening to the 3D Politics. Tommy McKay, your fine mood director here, and I'm going to try to fix this mood around here. With David Van, David Oldham, and Christian Bengal, polite enough to join us once again. I believe we are caught in between what Christian Bengal is suggesting, that we have to have some sort of ethical and moral values that protect general society from itself and each other. And yet Oldham is saying, look, we have to do this in a way that's constitutionally and legally accurate. So this is the balance we're dealing with. Van, please say something.
Yeah. Here's my problem with it. And Chris, I think you have some sympathy for this, is anytime the government makes a rule that they exempt themselves from at any level of government, that's a problem. And, we'd all like to be able to self-insure. And prior to about 1972, that's what the law was in almost every state. Compulsory insurance didn't come in until the 70s. Mm-hmm. And so this I have, and Chris, have you ever tried to collect from the city of Tulsa for something that was their fault? They are the worst.
Now, he doesn't represent.
They do. We're paying for this insurance, so they have it. I mean, the government has the insurance because we're paying for it, right? Yeah. So that's the thing, is they do have insurance because we're paying for it out of our taxes.
Well, yeah, become theirs, but we don't we don't skim 20 to 40% off like State Farm and all the rest of them do.
Okay, Let me just say, for our valued viewers, our audience members, one of the reasons I like this in the weeds discussion, and appreciate Christian Bengal for coming on to endeavor it with us to avoid the echo chamber of 3D Politics and help us see another viewpoint. I will say that I think at the higher level of basic logic, the idea that we're going to insist that insurance is compulsory, why don't we just make the law compulsory? You see, there's already a law that says stuff, and now we're like, we ought to make insurance compulsory. Why don't you make jewelry compulsory? I'm a jeweler. You can't go out of town unless you got your jewelry.
Tom, you're in the wrong business.
Hell yeah, I am.
Vaccines, man, that's where it's at.
So now, Oldham, your audio is just crushed.
I'd really like to hear Chris respond to both mine and Oldham's points.
All right, but not mine. Thanks, Van. Thanks a lot.
I mean, the logic is sound of what you guys are talking about it being within the confines and construct of the Constitution. But the problem is a lot of these laws that we have that aren't constitutional are because of man, right? Mm-hmm. And like I said, as we progress as humans with our technology and the different things that we have, we don't have there are more cars than there ever were horses in 1776. Mm-hmm. So the socioeconomic structure isn't the same, and man has created all of these problems. Mm-hmm. So again, as a society, there has to be some structure to where I can safely, I have just as much right as the guy who driving his 2000 POS with a paper tag and no insurance to be out on the road and not have to worry about getting hit, right? So
well, now that's where I disagree. That's where I disagree. You can't be on the road. My daughter was in an accident, her first accident, and I said, tell me what happened. Well, I did this, I saw that, I looked at that, and I saw that. I said, well, you talked about moving cars. My question was, did you look for moving cars? She looked for a green light. She looked for which arrow to drive. She looked for everything except for a moving vehicle through an intersection. So you are literally, regardless of law, your job is to look out for moving vehicles. I mean, you can't say you can't just dump it off on the state to say I get to drive and not worry about someone running a red light.
Right, and that's exactly right, Tommy. Because again, it's like that old joke: why are you stopping at the green light? Well, my cousin may be coming the other direction.
Yeah.
So, so I'm sure you all heard about the individual that was killed, the fatal accident that happened on Memorial, where the individual was driving, I think it was in excess of 80 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm. When was this? Just recently?
It was either, I think it was a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Oh yeah. It's been a month and a half.
Has it been that long?
Yes,
okay.
It has. Okay. Oh yeah, that was horrible. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, these are the kinds of things that humans do to other humans. They're careless and they create these laws for the rest of us because of the actions of an individual. And that's always the problem, is the bad actors who end up with our legislation enacting laws on the law-abiding ones. Right. So again, that's where we have a lot of these problems. And again, it's not because I do agree with the targeting of the poor. If there's a way we can get around that, but again, we have to have smarter heads wrapped around that.
It's really easy to do. It's really easy. I've got one way, and I imagine if people put their heads to it, we could come up with a bunch of different ways. But I learned it on the soccer field, and it was just basically I had to sign a release saying that I hold everybody, I hold everybody harmless,
blameless.
For any injury that happens to me. Now, this does not include, somebody committing a criminal act against
malicious acts,
a malicious act. But if it's a part of the game, hey, injury is a part of the game. Injury is a part of driving. Injury is a part of walking on the sidewalk where there are cars going by. That's my point.
All right.
That's how I figured it out.
But how do you prove malicious? That's the problem.
Well, the guy doing 80, and the poor lady's dead. She's going to forever be dead.
Exactly.
But that guy doing 80, there's no excuse for that whatsoever.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Let me give you a hand. Malicious is something that's covered by criminal law. So that
correct.
Courts. Yeah.
Correct. And that's a different issue.
Right. But again, that's an extreme instance, right?
Right.
But the problem is if you have a person who's maliciously out driving recklessly, right, weaving in and out of traffic, there are several streets here in Tulsa where the traffic merges from 2 lanes into 1, right? And you have people that have the me first mentality. Oh, yeah. I'm going to speed up in that right lane and then cut the guy off in front of me. He slams on his brakes, and then it just turns into a chain effect.
Yeah.
So again, there's malicious intent right there, as far as I'm concerned. You knew the freaking lane ended before you got to the point. But again, It's the me first mentality, and to me, that's malicious intent in my mind.
Well, and
But
here's
again,
here's the
we
big
got just
thing.
about 10 seconds.
Well, and
Oldham.
here's the big thing: the guy who caused the accident usually keeps going, and nobody can get his number.
You're darn right.
And nobody even catches him, but everybody else is blamed and gets blamed for it, and somewhat rightly so. I think we can make it a lot easier and a lot better, and I can drive my 2000 POS. And quite frankly, not have to insure it because I can buy another one for cheaper than the insurance costs.
Yeah. POS is the sound quality of your mic right now. So you're gonna have to fix that
I'm hearing him
crunching
fine.
crustacean. It is like crushing. It's like
Kristen, how
you're
does
gonna
it
have to
sound
kill
you?
it.
I'm hearing him fine.
Does it sound okay
I
to
hear
you?
him fine. I hear him fine too.
It is just crunching over the microphone.
Sorry, Tom, you're overruled. Okay. And let me just cut this real quick in a nutshell. And I think, Chris, you can agree with this. Remember the old axiom Benjamin Franklin said, those who would exchange essential liberty for temporary security deserve neither. Now, what you're talking about here is every time something tragic happens, people want to be safe, and they're exchanging liberty in measure for a little more security. And I think this insurance thing is a good example of that.
Insurance compulsory
It's a security. It's a security that we gave up liberty to get.
But again, you can't make that kind of statement and then in the next breath turn around, I should be secure in my property, papers, et cetera, et cetera. Again, you can't pick and choose which one is applicable here because again, I have the right to be safe and secure in my vehicle without
I don't think you have a right to be
Okay,
safe.
but what makes you safe and secure shouldn't be compulsory insurance. Compulsory insurance is an insult to the law itself. The fact that we can't just acknowledge that that the law is compulsory. We got to, well, you got to buy insurance because nobody follows the law. Okay, this is what they told me when I was against the teenage curfew. Tom, you're not a teenager. Why do you care? I said I wasn't a Jew. I was against the Holocaust. The fact is, they said we passed a curfew law because we can't catch the graffiti guys. And there's a law against graffiti, but we can't catch them. So we want to lock them down in their bedrooms at night. It's like, what the hell? There's a law that should be compulsory. Why in the hell do I have to buy? You just set me off, Christian. Good job.
I was going to say, I triggered him.
Thank God.
Address what Christian said.
I triggered him.
Thank God you did. Otherwise, where would we be?
Well, but Christian brings up a good point, and and it's something that I think needs to be addressed. And this is that that the Fourth Amendment, we have the right to be secure in our persons. Remember, it's from unreasonable searches and seizures. When we put ourselves out on the road, we are exercising our rights to do so, and we have the duty, the absolute duty to acknowledge that accidents happen and that we will take the responsibility for having put ourselves in the situation that could end up with our being the victims of that. And that's what the current law does not do. It absolves the individual of any responsibility. Oh, everybody else should have been perfect. And if it's not, then I'm owed.
Okay.
That's the problem with the current law, whereas in reality, as soon as you put yourself out in public, it's a dangerous place and you have responsibility for having put yourself there. To what degree, that's where we have to work out.
Yeah.
That's the wrong place, wrong time mentality.
Well, correct. But if I hadn't been out, I can stay in my home forever and be safe in my little compound.
Well, here's the thing. We are sharing common roadways and right-of-ways and paths and trails and waterways and everything. And when you share, you do bump into each other.
And that's an unfortunate part of life, but we've got to acknowledge that fact.
Yeah.
And that's what the current law wants to avoid, is that accidents are a part of life. And that's where I get back to my soccer thing. Injury is a part of a contact sport.
That's correct.
And it's just you got to acknowledge that before you play. Otherwise, you're not allowed to play because, hey.
Okay, so Oldham, what you're saying is that we should we should make insurance compulsory to acknowledge that. Is that correct?
Well, we just need to get insurance back to being voluntary again. And as soon as we do that, then insurance rates will drop through the floor.
Why should they be voluntary?
Oh, because hey, if I'm driving the cheapo car and I'm willing to take the risk on my own body, then I don't have to have insurance, and I can go and replace a car for the price of for less than what it would cost me for a year's salary.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, a year's insurance payment now.
I'm going to change the subject real quick, but only because I've got this brilliant panel of minds here, and I really want to get Christian's input because I can always get these other guys' input. For now, I'll miss them when they're gone. Trust me, I'll miss them when they're gone. But listen, I got a thing that happened to me at the Quick Trip, and I want to. This is a moral discussion. We're just going to keep going without any breaks because here we are.
Yeah.
A gal comes up to me. I'm eating my macaroni and cheese out of the Quick Trip because I'm starving, but that's not the show. And she waves at me. I roll down my window, and she says, "Hey, don't be mad at me, but I was wondering if I could get some change to buy some Similac for my baby."
Similar.
Okay. Now, I showed her I'm a compassionate guy. So as the window rolled up, I was like, "You're talking to the wrong guy." Because I'm so compassionate. I got 5 kids of my own. They took all my change. What change do I have left? You're not my baby, and your kid's not my grandbaby. So anyway,
right.
Here's my question. You could ask 1,000 things. I need gas for my car. I need money for my mom's cancer. I got 1,000 things I could say. But when you say that you have a baby that's starving,
Right.
that's a DHS issue. Instead of being so compassionate by just rolling up my window, what I should have done was looked at her tag and then said, "Show me the starving baby." Okay, because she is either driving around begging for Similac for a starving baby that resides somewhere that I don't know. What I know is that's child endangerment. What do you say, Christian Bengal?
I think it was just a story to get your change.
But what I'm saying is you cannot scream fire in a movie theater or say bomb in an airport. You cannot approach a stranger at a Quick Trip and say there is a starving infant, not just a minor, an infant needing Similac. It's
Right,
time
Tom,
for
but-
DHS, and I'll call DHS on her car tag. Show me the baby. Show me the
problem,
starving
though-
baby.
Yeah, but the problem we know, Tom, in today's society is everybody comes up with a different story or a different con in order to get that change out of you. A person who definitely needs that type of assistance isn't going to come to the Quick Trip to ask for change
Exactly.
for Similac.
Be at the Reese's or the Walmart.
Okay, look, if I
Yeah,
need
exactly.
money, okay, let's
And
talk.
that's why I
Okay,
said,
let's
to me,
talk the
that's-
same theory on child sex trafficking. Nobody that needs money is going to sell a child into sex because, whoops.
We've seen that happen. We've seen that happen.
Okay, so what I'm saying, this idea that people won't do stuff, I'm saying you can say 1,000 things that don't get you in trouble, but if you beg for a starving baby, if you tell me that you have a baby that you need change to buy Similac for an infant, you are literally admitting you have a child in danger, which means you are guilty of child endangerment.
But again, this comes
No,
on
easy.
you.
No.
This comes
Yeah.
on you to determine whether there's fact behind that, whether it's genuine. You have to
see
make that
something, say
determination.
something. See
Got
something, say something. If
wonder
I
if
see,
Christian's on the reasonable side. Tom is like out there.
This
welcome
is
to
where
3D politics.
But again, this is no different than if somebody's standing on the corner of one of the intersections or coming up to you asking for anything. It doesn't matter what it is. A lot of people will come up with different ways to tug at your heartstrings, right? Especially if they're in a panhandling mood.
Yeah.
The problem is you're the
There's
one
a
who
country
has
song.
to determine. You're the one that has to determine whether what she's saying is genuine or whether it's just a ploy to get money from you.
Just
And
like
if you
a
believe
person
it's
that rushes.
genuine,
Okay, just like a person who rushes my front door and bangs on the thing, says, I've got a severe emergency out here. I have to determine, do I call 911 or not? So this
you know
woman.
what? Tom, I've been a parent in need, and that doesn't make me a criminal and unfit, and my kid's going to get taken away from me.
Oh,
That's a
yeah,
bad
it does if you're begging from me at a Quick Trip. There are 1,000 ways to get Similac for right down the street at the Catholic Charities. There's a billion, the WIC and a billion. But if you are begging on the street for change for the infant in need, you are admitting that the child is in danger.
No, you're a liar, but you're not an unfit parent.
Yeah, you're unfit. You're unfit.
Wouldn't the better thing be to put him in the car and take him to Catholic Charities, or put him in the car and, I mean, if you were of a mind to actually get them some Similac.
Yeah.
No, the biggest problem is there's no Similac at Quick Trip. So you'd have to put them in the car and take them to Walgreens, take them to Walmart, take them to Reesers or somewhere where they've got it, or drop them off at the Catholic Charities and say, here you go.
You get real reasonable and you say, how much do you want for the baby? All right, Christian Bengal, we appreciate you being here. Anything?
Suggest that, but I already had that one.
Tom, I got to say something before Chris gets away.
We got to get him out.
No,
we got to save him. Get him out of here.
Okay, Chris, right at the beginning, I have to tell you, you sounded like the PR person for the Oklahoma Insurance Association. Just know that.
You're doing a great job.
What? Oh my God! He'll have to stick around for another half hour.
Tom, be quiet a second. I'm trying to finish this. And here's the thing, Chris. We wouldn't have any of these laws if there weren't a bunch of lobbyists for corporations who knew that they were the ones getting the windfall from it. And that's the thing that I'm suspicious of, because I go to the Capitol and I see all these big corporate lobbyists.
Oh, and talk about the fancy suits. David and I don't have anything that can rival the quality.
We're just cynical because we hate.
Well, that's for sure.
Okay, so that's all I wanted to say, Chris. There's nothing you're saying that didn't make sense on that. I'm just saying we're cynical because we hear the lobbyists do it.
No, I get it.
Yeah,
I just want us to think of it from a slightly different perspective, and when we do that, we are back to being a free society once again, and everybody is protected who wants to be protected.
Oh my gosh, like society. A Marxist. Oldham sounds like a Marxist around here. Christian Bengal, I really appreciate you suffering the Zoom voodoo, and I think one of the things that you helped me define during the discussion was my distaste for the idea that we will make insurance compulsory, but we won't accept that law is compulsory. It's one of the things I've found that, that nobody enforces the law. Eric Holder still goes to the porn movies and hangs out buying popcorn next to children. I don't know what he does.
Yeah.
But he's not arrested for being in contempt of Congress. And there's 1,000 things that go on that no one is held accountable. Yeah. And so this is insurance compulsory insurance is an insult to law that should be recognized as compulsory insurance.
How did we get stuck on compulsory insurance? I thought that was a point number 2 we were going to bring up.
Point number 1 is whatever I care about, and thank you, Christian Bengal, for being here on 3D Politics. Once again, we're going to take you out of here.
Fabulous sport.
God, thanks for playing along.
I'm glad I'm able to trigger Tom frequently.
Well, because I love it. We're going to bring you back.
We're going to have you on more regularly because that's kind of actually fun. That's fun to watch.
I wish every cop had Chris's demeanor. He's a good guy.
I don't. I'd be arrested every second. All right, we'll see.
I'd be laughing at
you. Christian Bengal, thanks once again. We'll have you back soon. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Gosh, it's tough out there, isn't it?
That was good. I love that. Chris is a great guy.
He really plays along well. I appreciate him just, putting up with all the stuff, especially Oldham, because Oldham is the guy who's Oldham, of
Funny
course, is
thing
all
is,
that.
I don't drive a 2000
Oldham's
POS. I
Oldham's
drive a
trouble.
1999 POS. Okay.
Oldham's trouble. I will.
I was gonna say yours is older than that.
Yes, and you know what? I do it because it's smart. I don't, because I'm like, I don't have to get full coverage because I can replace it for a year's cost of full coverage.
That's the
You
point.
know?
And you know what? You wouldn't have to pay a dime, other than maybe health coverage for yourself, for trauma coverage,
Yeah,
which
bodily
is
injury.
a pittance. The bodily injury is a pittance in comparison to the regular coverage, and that's how they've gotten us, and how the insurance companies have become the biggest financiers in the entire world is through extorted insurance.
Yeah.
And we can do it with just a slight tweak of our thinking that you know we don't have the right to be, you know, I mean, we don't have the right to just pretend it's in a vacuum. When
Here is Tommy K connecting the dots. The same problem we have with education, where they say we've got to educate the children, and that's called lunches and counseling. I'm like, no, lunches and counseling is not education. And just like when we say, well, look, there's a law that says when you drive down the road, you got to be responsible for injury to other people. And then people are saying, well, then we've got to make people have lunch called insurance. What I'm saying is the concept of forcing people to buy insurance is an insult to the idea that the law is compulsory, that you are responsible for creating injury to somebody else. That is what's compulsory, not that you buy the ability to do it. I mean, this punishes everyone. I remember growing through the insurance thing. I did the calculation. If I could drive for 90 days as a 17-year-old, I could save more money than if they gave me the ticket for not having the insurance. Because as a 17-year-old male, kabam, you know, could have bought a new car. Okay, so the idea then is like, okay, fine, compulsory insurance. So I bought it. Fine, I'll bend over like an American male that gets married. And then they're like, you know, some people aren't doing what you did. So now you know what I paid for? Uninsured motorists. F you people. Why am I buying my own damned insurance to make sure your law is compulsory when some of you effers won't even buy it? I'm paying for everybody.
Because you're not acting like a sheep, you're acting like a goat. And
I'm
we
paying
gotta conform you
for
into sheep.
everybody.
You got to be a sheep, and that's what the cops are for.
Everybody's mad at... Okay, Oldham, go ahead.
We're a socialist society.
Yeah, we are.
You know, and that's the point. Is that? And here's the thing: in a voluntary society, I buy what I want. If I want insurance, I get insurance.
Right.
Now, who's that insurance for? It's for me. It's to protect me.
You greedy self-interest.
No, it seems like that's greedy, but everybody has that point of view and accepts the responsibility that hey, we live in a dangerous society. Things happen, and if I want to protect myself and mine, I get insurance. I get health insurance. I get car insurance. I get life insurance, and then you know what? Mine are cared for. But I can't take care of everybody else, and nobody else can either. So we all have to assume the responsibility for ourselves.
All right, man. I got a joke coming, but go ahead.
No, I'm ready to move on to the next topic.
So you're right. So the free hand of the market fixes nearly every ail. As I tell you about in my new book.
Oh God.
My new book. The free hand of the market takes the invisible hand of the free market takes care of nearly every ails, even racism. Because what we find out in my new book is that in 1870s, circa 1870s, those racists that hung out with their racist buddies and said, no, we're not going to hire blacks to work our fields. They were all racist together at the bar. But when they went home and their wife says, how are we going to get stuff planted? How are we going to get stuff planted? What happened with what Thomas Sowell explains in my new book is that racists may prefer their own race to other races, but like individuals, racists prefer themselves to other people. And so if I'm going to starve to death, i.e. my own backyard, I'll go ahead and hire blacks, even though I said I hated them at the bar. And so the next year, the racists that were loyal to racism didn't have any. They paid the price for their racism. There's a cost to discrimination. Thomas Sowell teaches it in the new book that I bought. And when government gets involved to mitigate the pains of racism, they lower the costs of racism. Okay. That is, people who are racist pay a lower cost when government comes in to save the day, just like the welfare state ruined Greenwood. Go ahead, Van.
I want to say something there because I think you point out something that's very interesting and applies to a lot of things. The cost that you pay for being a racist is levied upon you by society, by being shunned, by being excluded, or by not being liked. And we all want to be liked. And I was listening tonight, Jenna Ellis on Real America's Voice, 5 o'clock. She went on, opened the session with her rant about, did you know somebody in the porn industry showed up at a political event? And yes, they need to kick her out because, why, she's been in the porn industry. And then she went on to say this, Tom, because this goes to your point, is that government's job is to enforce morality. Now, that's a dangerous statement there. But this is the problem, and this is a conundrum, because I understand why, and Charlie Kirk with Turning Point, he had every right to exclude whoever he wants. It's his show. That's all it is a traveling show. But we have to decide if we're going to expand, then we got to quit shunning, or at least count the cost when we shun and we exclude. Because then they go find someone else to hang out with.
Well, David, I have to say you're absolutely right. The thing is that here's a woman who shows up. She's a conservative. She's a Trump supporter. She's amoral. She's immoral, not amoral. Immoral. But politically, she's correct. The question is, whose morality do we uphold?
Yeah, that's
we're going to call it. If we're going to call it morality, or is it going to be sectarian? Oh, you can't have a drink. You can't have alcohol. You can't have drugs. You can't have whatever it might be that someone else thinks is immoral. Hey, you can't gamble. But you know what? We would not have the problems that we have in Oklahoma if we had whites able to own if David, you could own or maybe worse, but we'd have to look after Tom if you guys owned casinos. Then we'd have to look after Tom.
Okay, Oldham. How about topless soccer? How about Oldham opens up a topless soccer bar?
Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Lori might have a problem with that.
Yeah, I will say.
Hey, I know people that we have all had dinner with who would help us get that done.
Yeah. Listen, I'll go with that. Dennis Miller said, anybody who is enthralled with the idea of a nude beach has never been to a nude beach.
That is like ugly people wanting to get naked, yeah.
Have you ever been to Rio? There are Russians there with Speedos, okay? I mean, and
I don't know what kind of racist statement that was.
Harry,
you're like anti-Russian. I don't know how hard you.
All over the world,
a Russian bear with a Speedo. It's kind of like that.
Back in my day, a gal who was like immoral, she was just good at it, is what you called it.
Well, yeah. Now, what I want to say, Tom, you were talking racism, and do we shun a racist? Because that's the point Thomas Sowell's making. You pay a price for that kind of antisocial behavior.
That's correct.
And now, for a lot of things that are considered antisocial in one group, might be totally accepted in another, and that's why we're multi-social. You hang out with people who like your thing, right? I mean, when I go, football game Sunday morning, I go hang out with my Minnesota Vikings fans, and occasionally I drive by the Packer backers, tailgate party, and I taunt them a little bit. So we all have our little groups, and that's okay. That's multicultural.
Fran Tarkington and Dick Lofton hanging out together.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm just saying this is a thing, and government should not always be the club that's used to enforce social things like, whatever. I understand. I go with two things, and Oldham and I had this talk 8 years ago. It's public safety and child exploitation. Those are the two things where I'm going to enforce it.
Well, it's really protection, the securing of our liberties, the securing of our rights. That's what government's job is for. So if a child is being endangered, if a child is being, harmed in some way, they have rights. They have, and it doesn't matter whether it's a child or whomever. They have rights, and force of government. Government is all about force. It's all about force. That's the point of us getting together and hiring a government, is to exercise force.
Yeah.
But it's got to be to protect rights and not for all the ancillary stuff.
That sounds super simple, except for when you bring up, so here's this guy, he's been banging an 11-year-old for a year. Okay. He shows up in the hospital. The 12-year-old that had he's been banging her since she was 11. Okay, right. Consenting people.
Seems like consenting
people. Everybody's consenting. Well, consenting.
Have laws against that. They're not.
There used to be laws against homosexuals too, Van.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So I mean, what do you want to do here, right? Okay. And so my point is, so you say. So the point, you can't legislate love, right? And the guy comes in. So when you say rights of who? Rights of what? It gets into when it's not just morality, because that's based on the word mores, which is nothing more than human tradition. Okay, what they usually do around here, which could the morality of a certain culture could be that around here we bang the 11-year-olds and have babies at 12. Okay, that's morality. But when you talk about ethics, now you're talking about the reality of something that's moored to an ideal or a principle. You can have Christian virtue ethics. You can have ontological duty ethics. You can have medical ethics. You can have all sorts of different ethical boxes. And so the idea of this guy who bangs an 11-year-old and has a baby at 12, it's not about morality. It's about what set of ethics are you tied to? For me, I'm a glutton. I'm on the same list as the homosexuals. God doesn't like gluttons or homosexuals. And so I'm in trouble too. And that's why I think we should let the homosexuals come to church. I go to church,
No,
okay.
Well, church is not an evangelistic tool.
I'm saying I have a personal relationship with Christ at the Catholic Church. I don't worship dogma or doctrine. I go to the church to meet my Savior. Yeah. Okay, and if somebody else wants to go there is what I would say.
Well, okay. Well,
I want to say this. Here, these are competing things. To quote the Tom McKay axiom, you don't choose the group chooses you.
That's correct.
Okay, so here's the thing. I'm, Republican Party. I put a lot of decades of my life into trying to grow the Republican Party, and we've come a long way since the 80s when I first joined, right?
Yeah.
In Oklahoma. So, but here's the thing, you want to
go a long way since 2012 when I joined.
Okay, yeah, but you want to maintain the integrity of the brand, but yet you want to identify with as many people as may be conservative. They just don't know it. I mean, like the Little Dixie Democrats, who now are the most conservative in the state, generally. So you've got competing interests here, and I'm just saying I don't think there's any right or wrong. I think Charlie Kirk was within his rights to say, no, you're not, we don't want you here, but he's going to pay a price for that. And I think the Republican Party. The Republican Party, at the same time, because we're having a big fight over certain values in the Oklahoma Republican Party and nationally, we just have to understand, if we want to start pushing certain things, certain agenda items, we just have to look at the trade-off. And that's all I'm saying.
And I would add, just as a question, Tom, because when we come up with laws, remember, Thomas Jefferson said that rightful liberty is the unobstructed action according to our will within the limits drawn around us by the equal rights of others.
Okay.
Nice.
Because I don't say within the limits of the law, because law is often but the tyrant's will, and always so when it violates the rights of others. So the
I
question
think
is,
somebody else said that.
It's no fair if Oldham is going to memorize script. That's no fair.
But here's the question: who was harmed in this thing? Because what I got out of the article about this man bringing his essentially common law wife into, no, I mean, I don't know the circumstances.
Look,
I don't know if he kidnapped her and he forced her into this situation. I don't know if she's in
That's
there
not what she
willingly.
says.
I don't
That's not
know
what
if
she
her
says. Yeah.
parents are okay with the whole situation.
Her parents say they're okay.
Okay, so here's the question.
Does she have a sister? That's the question.
Who is harmed? Okay, besides your
That's
perversion,
funny. That's just funny. That's all that is.
I'm not laughing because I don't want to encourage
Because
you.
you're a teetotaler because it's funny.
Here's the thing: are we back into pretended crimes, the tyrant's will? Because that's what statutory rape laws are often all about. Hey, there's a Bible, a godly king of Israel who is married at 8.
Yeah.
At 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, but back then they were more intelligent.
A girl who was of equal age. And if we're going to start talking morality, then let's God did not condemn it. So where are we, and where are these laws?
Yeah. Okay, so the problem
here.
Problem here is in the conflation of the terms morality and ethics. When you say morality, where's the morality?
To me,
no, they are not. Then you need again. I'll teach you another word, eleemosynary, and now you need to look up ethics versus morality. Morality is a you got your expertise. I got mine. Yeah. Morality is a word the root word of morality is mores. Mores is based on regional, basically human tradition. Ethics is an entirely different word that has to do with a strict understanding. Christian virtue ethics doesn't have anything to do with morality. It has to do with Christian virtue ethics.
I'd say where is it not ethical that a man 24 in the case of the situation you're talking about, he's 24, she's 12. Where is it unethical for a man to do that if no one is harmed? Just that's the question I ask. Because the parents are okay with it, he's okay with it, she's okay with it.
Okay.
He's got a kid,
the
but
answer
now all of a
is
sudden he's a criminal. Where is that not pretended crime that he's gonna go to prison for? Don't get me wrong. He's gonna go to prison for. He's going to face a judge who will be willing to send him to prison. A jury who's willing to send him to prison. How is that lawful when
because you are trying to enforce a morality as opposed to an ethic. Okay? A child that is 12, this is again, we get into the problem with law in America. We get into a problem with law in America because we conflate the idea of minor. It's not only a 17-and-a-half-year-old, but it's a 3-year-old too, and a 12-year-old. But the fact is that a 12-year-old is a child that does not have the ability or even the legal authority to consent. Okay, you can't say, I could have a 12-year-old that could drive the car, but they're not legally available. Okay, you can't bang a 12-year-old. And it's not to do with morality, it has to do with ethics. And God's set of ethics has to do with ethics, okay,
Yeah.
not morality.
And yet the mother of God was probably no older than 14.
Guess
when Jesus
again.
was
I mean, you
born.
can guess and guess and guess.
It's
You
anthropologists.
can
have said
guess.
that was-
Anthropologists know nothing. Experts are the
yeah,
only
obviously.
ones that believe. Listen,
That point I agree
experts.
with Tom, but I agree with David.
Listen,
on
experts.
the concept.
Have you ever? Do you know Kevin Hovind? You ever heard of Kevin Hovind?
Yes.
Okay, so I mean, here's a guy that'll show you carbon dating of a shoe from 1980 is 70 billion years old. I mean, so this idea that anthropologists know something, or that you can tell something. Van, take this one personally. Either that you can tell something by how many no votes are wrapped around a building.
No,
You don't know shit.
I'm talking about people who actually wrote things. You know, there's something called the Bible that actually talks about society in the Middle East
Ethics.
during that time.
The Bible talks about ethics, not
No,
morality.
it actually has history of what happened over thousands of years in the
Ethics is what the Bible deals in, not
Yeah,
morality.
Listen to you, Monsignor.
Just
I
okay.
object. No,
I'm just asking if the 12-year-old has a sister.
Yeah,
That's
but
all.
what I'm trying to say here is I was talking to a highway patrol cop about 3 years ago, and we're talking about this marijuana legalization bill, medical marijuana. And you know what? He just kept saying, but it shouldn't be passed because I said, why? Because it's illegal. Marijuana is illegal, so we shouldn't vote to legalize it. Yeah, because to him, as a highway patrol cop, the state code was his Bible. And I'm not kidding you. He was making the state his religion. So when I pointed out to him, I said, on this day 90 years ago, here in Oklahoma, marijuana was fully legal and liquor was a federal crime. So it's all arbitrary. And a lot of these things are arbitrary where you can't show actual.
Okay, I got another question. When it comes to arbitrary law, and I go, everybody's all wild about her. We're not the Weimar Republic. Oh my God, we're not the Weimar Republic. It's like, shut the hell up. We're a hell of a lot like the Weimar Republic, okay? So my question is, there's terms like de facto, government by de facto. And then there's a term called government by decree. Okay, and my suggestion is this is before the Enabling Act. And I'm saying we are living in a world of rule by de facto. We don't even have a rule by decree. GT Bynum wants to have a rule by decree by forcing me to wear a mask, and so does Bynum. But right now, ain't nobody running crap around here. We're just rolling downhill with the momentum of the founding fathers, okay? We're just rolling in a government of de facto, and we know that because it's defined by arbitrary rule enforcement.
Yeah.
Nobody enforces jack shit until it's me. Nobody gets pulled over and has a dangerous, normal, routine traffic stop. Okay? I'm just saying, it's just insane. We're just going on de facto. Am I wrong? Am I right?
I'm not sure I follow you.
It's
I'm
de
not
facto.
Sure I folled everything either.
But
I have something else.
we're
that I
fine.
just
We're
have
living
bring
to
up.
finish it. We're living in a law. We're living in a government by de facto. That's my point.
Yeah.
Oldham, hit it.
Well, I think you're right. I mean, in the sense that government doesn't obey the law, the Constitution. They create things and they do things their own way, and it's all to try to bring about either a morality, ethic, whatever you want to call it, or whatever is of the moment. And we see that all the time.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to share this just because I gotta.
Do it.
So I hope you guys can see all of this.
It's coming up now.
And it says ethics. This is from the Merriam-Webster, the original dictionary of America.
Yeah, Miriam, if that is her real name. Right. Sure, Miriam, right. Her number didn't dial through.
Combining the
already
Merriam
casting
dictionary and the
doubt on
Webster
this.
dictionary. Anyway, the point is here, ethics is the discipline dealing with what is good and bad, and with a moral duty and obligation. Now, I've also got moral pulled up here, and moral says, of or relating to principles of right and wrong in behavior, ethical.
Yes.
So, in other words, morality and ethics are all about what is right and wrong. And I don't know where there's a difference
Okay,
between
but
them. I see
because
them as
the
synonyms.
difference is the right and the wrong changes depending on humanistic morals.
Okay, so
Okay.
mores. So, in other words, whether it's regional, basically.
Okay, so like for instance, our favorite
time.
libertarian, Rex Lawhorn, unless I'm quoting him wrong, suggests that abortion is a good idea for basic birth control. Okay, this is a significant. Okay, maybe okay. Take it away from him. There are those that say that abortion is okay for just basic birth control, which is ethically in violation of Christian ethics. It is not in violation of humanistic morality. You see?
Well, okay. It's also in violation of humanistic ethics. It depends upon whose
No, it
ethics
isn't.
or morality you're
No, it
looking
isn't.
at.
No, it isn't. It's
So,
not
yeah,
against
okay.
humanistic ethics. It used to be, they told me we should let the queers hold hands in the park and don't let the cowboys beat them up because all they want to do is let them alone. And I said, that sounds reasonable. Now they say 2 queers getting married is equal to you and your wife. I'm like, well, not exactly. It's like
right.
literally not.
Here it is. The 1828 Noah Webster Dictionary, even in 1828, ethic, manners or morals, treating of morality, deliverance. That was in 1888. But what do they know? We're enlightened.
Well, that's actually 1828.
1828. I'm sorry. Yes.
28.
But
Yep.
what do they know? That's back then. That was.
Well, and who doesn't live according to 1828? I know I do. I asked the
Just saying,
children.
the words haven't changed, have they?
They
haven't.
have.
They have not.
There's a difference in the root word regardless of how
There
we treat them.
is.
Gay didn't mean homosexual.
You got a
It used to mean happy.
You got a
Okay?
point there, yep.
Now, ethics is a different word than morality. Morality is a word that has a root word that is mores, and mores changes with humanistic morality. Christian godly ethics never change.
There you go.
I will always be a sinner because I'll always be a glutton. It doesn't matter if everybody says, you know
be a
what, Tom,
glutton.
everybody does it.
No.
And this is the
Glutton's
problem
go
with
to
the
hell,
LGBT.
Don't be a glutton. Repent.
Yeah. Right. No, Tom,
Oh,
you're on
thanks,
the
Oldham,
Tom,
for
you're
killing
onto
the
something here.
weekend.
Because church teaching changes a lot, especially from state to state, nation to nation. For instance, marrying your cousin. There's nothing in the Bible that forbids marrying your
I
cousin.
barely knew her.
I know. Or having multiple wives. There's absolutely
I hardly
nothing
knew 2 of them.
Yeah, but there is a penalty for 2 wives. You got 2 mother-in-laws.
Yeah, the
Okay?
2.
Other than that, but other than that,
I thought I forbade you from doing jokes.
I'm not
Damn
saying
it.
anymore. I'm not saying anymore.
Oldham, do you have
have
2
2
wives? Holy crap, Oldham's got 2 wives.
one,
Awesome.
one of my wife's high school
And now I
friends,
love soccer.
one
Go
of my
ahead,
wife's
Eli.
high school friends is actually a foreign exchange student from Liberia, and she now lives in New York. My wife still talks to her regularly. Great Christian young lady from a very devout Christian family. Her father had multiple wives in Liberia. That's a former American colony in Africa.
Right.
Christian nation. So I'm just saying, we
Hey.
get caught up in certain things and think it's in the Bible, and no, it's just we created a value system unto ourselves.
Ooh, a more.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey.
That ain't ethical.
Thank you. Me and Oldham agree, thank God.
Yeah.
Because,
So,
because my wife's grandmother had a hookah on the mantle.
yeah.
Who
I-
would have
I-
thought?
You want a little bit of state news before we wrap it up?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay.
Oh,
there's-
am I going to get a chance to hold you can I hold your feet to the fire? Van, that's the
What?
question. Soonerpolitics.org 718. What Chairman Bennett lost at today's Steak? Can I hold your feet to the fire on that?
Sure. Yeah. I
Well,
wrote
then
that
do
story.
your state stuff, because
Well,
I have
yeah,
questions.
So big political football. It's been going on for months. It's made national news. Has been last winter at our county convention. Several counties wrote up a resolution expressing their dissatisfaction, mostly with Langford. Some have actually expressed disappointment with Inhofe
Inhofe.
because they felt like it was a legitimate thing to ask the states to recanvass and make sure of who they selected as electors, because some of the states had competing lists, whether the legislature or secretary of state did. Okay, so Langford was noted for saying, "Oh yeah, I'm going to support that request." And then all of a sudden we had a little disruption, well, kind of a big disruption. And all of a sudden Langford said, "Oh no, we can't vote for that. We can't do that." And he threw in the towel after telling us something else. Okay, so that's a quick deal. And so Bennett now.
You're talking about January 6th right there?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
Boy, that was a gloss over.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
But
So
mostly,
to recap, what you said was Langford promised us that he would tell that he
vote
would,
one way.
and then
He
he
would vote
changed
one
his.
way.
Yeah,
Right.
and then he changed his. Yeah. So
Yeah.
then we can't trust Langford. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
and Langford never apologized to us for breaking.
Who cares?
his
He
commitment,
can't. We
okay?
can't. I don't care if he
Okay.
promised or not. Go
Okay.
ahead.
So anyway, so Bennett really wanted this to come up, and there are some people that think that deliberately there was a stall and all kinds of confusion at our state convention in April 10th. And so it never got up. We lost our quorum, and they went to adjournment, and that didn't come up. And I'm sure Langford is, yay, So Bennett decided at his first state committee meeting, this is the presiding committee that Bennett answers to whenever we're not in convention, okay? He decides he's going to put it on the agenda and bring it up for these people. But this committee consists of 4 members from every organized county, and then every elected legislator and statewide elected official, and a few others, right? So there's potentially like 400 people here. Well, over 300 showed up, but because
between actual arrivees and proxies.
Well, yeah, if they send somebody in their behalf, that's the same as showing up for all practical purposes.
Just wanna be clear.
Not to my wife.
Yeah, there you go. So anyway, they had a vote, and I think largely because of the venue Bennett selected. He didn't wait till the next convention of all the grassroots people, a couple thousand of them. He put it to this state committee, which was close to half elected officials, and it went down to defeat, and not by a little bit. It was significant.
16%, according to your article, which is not that big. That's like 85% the other way.
16%, yeah, but the thing was,
16%. So my question is, so the idea that you would wait to rub the dog's nose in it, Langford being the dog who did the wrong act. And here Bennett, in my opinion, is doing the right thing by moving now to spank the dog for doing the wrong thing. And you're saying, no, to be compassionate to the dog, we need to wait, for what? Okay.
Oh, maybe I'll talk like you think I talk.
I'll make fun of you. You make fun of me. Ready? Go.
I just think he could have waited because here's what happened. His honeymoon's over because the establishment and the lawmakers, those in elective office, are now gunning for him. And
well, I'm still in love with him, so.
Right, yeah.
Honeymoon's not over for me.
They shot him down on 2 or 3 different things he wanted to do. And then
what are the other 2 things? One you mentioned.
Whether or not we could have a new convention this fall to finish the agenda that didn't get done at the last convention, including these resolutions. Well, that went shot down to defeat. And
isn't that the same thing twice?
No, because we're in a lull year for conventions. This would be a special convention, and he was looking for for support to call a special convention.
He has the authority
because
to call
of
for
the
it.
emergency due to Langford's representation. Langford went off the rail.
It
and
doesn't even have to
someone
be an
has to
emergency.
say so. It is an emergency.
I know, but I'm just saying he has the ability, whether it's declared emergency or
So
not.
let me ask you this, Van, because again, I want to reiterate to our viewers, 3D Politics has 3 columns to it. There's David Van, who runs
Yeah.
a significant state political organization on
Forum.
online
I mean,
forum. Thank you.
Yeah, a platform.
It's soonerpolitics.org. Then there's David Oldham, who has constitutionalgrounds.com. He brings us our expertise analysis on constitutional issues. I am simply a host, verbalviking.com, and I ask the questions and then act like I know everything and everybody else is wrong all the time. Van, I will say that you and I am surprised at within nearly 90 days, you had a significant commitment to support Bennett. Now it seems like you've softened at the very least on your support for Bennett. My question to you is, do you support a censure on Langford or not?
Oh yeah. I supported the same.
So your disagreement is parliamentary procedure, correct?
I'm disappointed now. I won't get a chance to have a vote on that.
But what I'm
I'm
saying is your
disappointed.
disagreement with Bennett is
I think
not to censure Langford, because you both agree on that. Your comment against Bennett and why you don't support him is clearly simply parliamentary procedure. Is
Yeah.
that correct?
I guess you could call it that. If you'll remember, about a month ago, almost, I was part of a group of journalists that were getting ready to do a survey that was going to look into this and get a sense. We were kind of whipping the vote, if you will. And the state party office demagogued and smeared the nature of what we're doing. They literally called it some kind of computer hacking thing. Okay? And Bennett apologized to me afterward for it, but he would never correct the record. And he said, yeah, I'll get back to you. And then he stalled me, and then went on vacation for a couple of weeks. And my point is, had Bennett allowed me to do this and not sabotaged it with his people, we could have saved him this embarrassment by actually doing the hard work of whipping the vote. You know, really find out where the sentiment is. And this is the problem. When you don't have the kind of broad advice, many perspectives, many different views, and you got a little echo chamber that's running your office, that's a problem.
I think a different problem is that when you're trying to run as a leader, and you have parliamentarian bickering going on behind your back, you not getting to say something, David Van, is secondary to the guy that was elected to make the decision.
Oh, no.
Okay, Oldham, what do you got?
I will jump in here for, well, anyway, let's just put it this way. The lesson that I'm taking away from this is that you do need to whip a vote. You do need to get the sense of where people are at before you bring things to a vote, because you can go down to defeat. And it has a broader implication
Yeah, it does.
than trying to force it through and then failing, because that actually makes it worse. Now, here's the issue. The way that it is played by other people, because again, as David mentioned and so forth, this is national in scope. This has been on MSNBC. This is all over CNN. This is on CBS. This is on every socialist news network there is. And what they are saying is that Langford is now the winner, and that Langford is the socialist choice. That is what is coming out of what happened on Saturday. It isn't to the rest of the world. And the world does watch, just like they're watching what happens in Arizona with the recount called for by the Senate Republicans.
I mean, so what is the answer, you know?
Well,
so what?
No. By the same token, we can do whatever we want. We can still have another convention. We can still have.
There are things we can control, and then there are things we cannot control. What you just described that I said, so what to, are all those things that we cannot control.
But
what they think and how they react is literally not what we can control.
Here's the problem. What we have is a leadership who's saying one thing, doing another. At least the leader is saying one thing and his underlings are doing another. This is the kind of thing that Donald Trump put a nix on because he did not want people who were undermining his agenda to have any place in his organization. And then all of a sudden, he allowed Fauci to continue going. But the point is that he was firing people right and left at the beginning because every time that they started doing something opposite of what he was wanting, he got rid of them. Well, we've got now a situation where the leadership, the hired leadership, if you will, the appointed leadership is doing one thing and Bennett's saying another. So the question is, how do we, the people, the ordinary Republican, know what is really going on in Oklahoma City?
In this hit piece from Sooner Politics,
Hit piece
from yesterday, that's what I call it. Okay,
I guess you do.
What powerful force could separate this long-standing alliance of Bennett and Gerhardt? Okay, I question the long-standing alliance between Bennett and Gerhardt.
Well,
I want to see.
read the article.
I have read the article. I'm reading from it now. But what I like is the comedic conjecture that surely General Flynn didn't demand that Bennett throw Gerhardt under the bus. Right. I would suggest that General Flynn has no idea who Al Gerhardt is. Are you kidding me? Absolutely hyperbole.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with anything national. That's what I'm saying.
So
mind you,
Bennett. So no. State Chamber agrees, which is your opinion editorial with Gerhardt. You think that the State Chamber is monolithic in their agreement with Gerhardt on many agenda items. No, I didn't. I'm pointing out your contradiction. Okay, you are suggesting that Bennett is betraying his most trusted and historic ally. That to me is total conjecture. How do you back up the idea that Al Gerhardt somehow got Bennett elected?
I didn't say that.
Yeah, you did. You said that the Sooner Tea Party is the one that basically made him become elected.
I didn't say any of that. That's
in this article. You suggest.
Read the words. Read the words.
Read the words.
A message.
You're changing more words than you're getting accurate.
What a powerful force.
And I'll tell you.
Go ahead. Defend yourself.
Many hours interviewing both of them directly.
In 2016, Bennett's passion and Gerhardt's hard-hitting and sometimes caustic newsletters made it imperative for the new House leadership to ally with Bennett. So there you are. So that's what I just said. You just suggested.
Go back to
Bennett's passion and Gerhardt is involved in Bennett's ability to get the House leadership to ally with him.
Yes.
How did Gerhardt significantly? I'm asking you, Van. How did Gerhardt significantly make Bennett get the House? I'll try to finish what I'll do is try to finish the question, and when I shut up, you can answer it. How is it that Gerhardt significantly had Bennett be able to get the House leadership ally with him?
Well, even I could answer that, but
I'm asking Van. It's his article.
All right. If you go to the Sallisaw Airport, they keep a log of every FAA license number of every plane the private plane owned by Charles McCall with John Eccles on board flew there to see him in his home. Okay, that can be proven either true or false.
Fine.
And following that, both Eccles and McCall gave a maximum donation to John Bennett's reelection. That never happened before. As soon as he got elected, he was reelected again. He was named chairman of a very prominent public safety committee in the House. Those are all things that are actually provable. Okay, so that's one of the roles. The thing that had to do in both John and Al confirmed is Al had to just go pick on somebody else for a while and give Eccles and McCall a chance to establish himself in leadership.
So your contention is that these new leaders, that is McCall and Eccles, needed something from Al Gerhardt.
They needed him to quit beating up on him.
Because they have this idea that he has an impact.
Well, you know, they made the flight, okay?
Well, the point is,
I'm just saying. I mean, General Flynn doesn't know who Al Gerhardt is. I met General Flynn, but I don't think Al Gerhardt.
Irrespective of whether he actually did, it comes down to the point of where they were thinking, and this is what was demonstrated by their actions. Now, the thing is that Al has an unusual readership. We have an unusual viewership in that I'm making up new words, an unusual viewership, and we have people that watch us that we don't have a clue that watch us, because they're watching us, you know, anonymously and stuff like that. But we go to the Capitol and we hear stories. It's like, oh, I loved your talk about this, blah 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 blah, and they give details. It's like you had to have watched it because you're giving details. But the thing is, and there's an effect there, whether we want to, whether we know it is going on or not. And if we lighten up, you know, at the right time as they want, and they kick in with the money.
It really does go back to 2010 when the several Tea Party groups, I mean, Tulsa 912 was one of those groups that loosely calls itself Tea Party. They have a different name, but it's a Tea Party, right? And look, very active and got a lot of new people in. And John to be the first Republican in far eastern Oklahoma to ever be elected to the legislature from that county. And since then, it's totally turned red. Okay. So this is something that's happened.
Before we get to the cheap shots at the end of your hit piece on Bennett, you said, but Bennett's open support and campaign rally speeches for Lankford's primary opponent are even more controversial, and now it's clear that Bennett will have to carry out a party agenda that he didn't champion nor support. What do you mean by that?
That's what happened Saturday. Things that normally he would have discretion on, the state committee, which is his only boss, is a state committee. They sat on it. They said, no, you're not doing a convention this fall. He had intended to do that. I got that from him directly in his office. Okay.
I don't understand how that is him carrying out an agenda he doesn't. I don't know. How is that?
He now has to do a convention that they did pass. That was a Pam Pollard initiative. She's a former chairman and now the state committee woman, and very influential, not dumb. And her idea passed on a one-time deal. And, you know, so I know
and
that Pam Pollard had a strong contingency there who said this is not right.
I mean, ethics has nothing to do with popularity contest. Morality does. The Reform from your article, the Reform institutes a gubernatorial state convention with limited specific agenda directives. Isn't the gubernatorial state convention our betters, as D'Ambroso would have called them?
No, that is a grassroots convention, but they stipulated there will be no resolutions accepted at that convention, which was another thing that if he hadn't done this, they would not have put that kind of stipulation on on future conventions.
All right. Another reason I call it a hit piece is you suggest that this Marine would be persuaded by somebody to be contrary to his own gospel message. I took that to be an insult to the chairman, John Bennett, when you suggest that he, as a Marine, would be persuaded by others to act contrary to his own gospel message.
Yeah.
I thought that was an insult, and that's why I call this a hit piece.
Go a little further, and I said we will soon find out, right?
You say his message is a message which says that the ends doesn't justify the means, a message which Bennett preaches each Sunday at Lee Creek Assembly of God near Muldrow.
Yes.
Okay. Unraveling of the Bennett-Gerhardt team. Show me any evidence of a Gerhardt-Bennett team.
Oh, yeah. Well, fortunately, a great gift was given last night. Late, the media and public relations director for John Bennett just did a tell-all where she went into great detail on what she did to try to unravel the connection and working relationship specifically between Gerhardt and Bennett. And
I would love to hear from Bennett how much there is this, political alliance. Does Bennett? I mean, clearly, from your article, Bennett doesn't see any alliance between him and Gerhardt. Is that right?
You know what? You can go through every campaign since 2010 and see how much in-kind and cash contributions Sooner Tea Party, Al Gerhardt, and a whole bunch of other volunteers he got there, including sending, the Guardian newspaper, which Al publishes. I mean, he is just all the way up through 2016. Al has been on the ground in Sallisaw helping the Bennett re-election campaign.
Loving somebody doesn't mean I'm on their team. I mean, I can love Alan Jackson, and I'm not on his team, what? I love Alan Jackson. That's not how you talk. That's how I talk when I mock you.
Yeah, right. But this is how, Al went through in great detail talking about how a hit piece was designed by the Bennett team and put that hit piece on Jenny White. And Al, and he's not apologizing for it. He's just saying, don't throw me under the bus and saying that's beneath you when the Bennett campaign designed it, ordered it, paid the printer for it, and had it delivered to his media and public relations director, who was also his campaign manager. And she's confirmed it was delivered to her. The problem is when she says that Al had it delivered, no, John Bennett had it delivered. And this is all provable by emails, and I've seen them.
So,
I've done my homework on this, man.
Again, I'm not so much questioning that as is 90 days ago, David Vann, my colleague on 3D Politics, came out in solid support of a guy named Bennett. Now you write, political ambitions have a sad history of bringing out disappointing behavior in ministers of the gospel.
Yeah,
Speaking nothing of the political world, no godly desire is ever a license for immoral acts. What immoral act did Bennett commit?
When you smear journalists that you've worked with for years and years, and then you apologize them privately, but you will not publicly correct the record where you sent out an email to the entire state party. That's immoral. Period.
Immoral because a man will not.
Thou shalt not bear false witness against your neighbor.
False witness is immoral.
And the act of not saying something publicly is the immoral.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
You have a duty to restore.
Oh, let's just to support David here.
Please.
Let's go to the scriptures. What happened when Paul was arrested and beaten publicly, and then they wanted to sneak him out the back door?
In the Philippian jail, yes.
In the Philippian jail. Okay. He said, no, you arrested me publicly. You released me publicly. Yeah. That's the point, is you make a public error.
Duty.
You have to make a public confession and public repentance. And if you don't do that, that's immoral.
Yeah.
Because you are leaving people in the dark. You are deliberately leaving people in the dark, and that's bad. Now,
wouldn't it be unethical instead of immoral?
Guys, I was there at Lawmeyer's event as media. I'm not a supporter of any candidate at this point. Not an announced supporter. I want everybody to come to constitutional grounds and get educated on the Constitution, because nobody has the issue right from January yet. Nobody. Okay. But in this particular case, it is clear. I say all that to say this, that I listened to John Bennett's address at the convention, and he had people come to their feet, and he was right on constitutional down the line. Loved it. Wished I could make a speech like that. Wish. Okay? He was right on. But when he is wrong, he's wrong. He needs to confess it. He needs to fess up and get things right so that we can get on to getting things right. But if we don't clean up our own house, how can we get things? How can we expect to move on down the line? That's the point.
How can we clean
right now? Things are like all over the place.
How can we clean up our house if the state GOP leader cannot support the right candidate to replace Langford?
You know what? We had a vote at the state committee, and Langford, let me put that, Bennett pick the people who are going to do the votes. But the fact that he's no longer neutral in this even casts aspersions on what kind of people. Are they doing an accurate vote? This is why you need your chairman to stay neutral so that we know that the whole process.
Okay, then the concept of chairman is not leadership. The chairman is administrative then.
Well, no, this is a clear difference, and one that I've been trying to make for years now.
Well, you better get on it because we're running out of time.
And that is throughout the primaries, the chairman's job is not to take sides in one person or another,
Absolutely.
but to teach the proper principles that should undergird our decisions, our grassroots decisions. And Bennett, to his credit, said he would give the same speech to a Langford organization or a Langford meeting. But the thing is that he has taken, because he was questioned by me, as Tom, you can attest, by me, and then by the Oklahoman and
I'm pissed. Go ahead.
I just got one more thing. Again, that survey we were doing was primarily so Bennett's team would know exactly where the sentiments of the party were. It was going to be the thing that would have prevented this horrible outcome for Bennett on Saturday.
But you're not in a position to make that call. You weren't elected to run the boat. This is the problem.
You're not listening to me, Tom.
I'm not
listening. I was
listening.
offering him data research.
Again, he can accept or deny.
Sure he
course.
can.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
but
wine in your beer. Again, when you're elected, you ran for state chair, you ran for vice chair, and you lost.
Yes.
So you don't have as much power as Bennett does.
It's
You
not
can
about
sit there.
power.
Here's my problem with you, Van, is that you claim that you were supporting the man, and you've gone off on a hit piece, hitting the guy at the gospel level on a parliamentary procedure, literally calling the man ungodly because of a parliamentary procedure. If I'm running, you and I have had the same discussion. If I'm running the ship, you disagree with it. It's like, dude, I will steer left and right, even if we hit the rocks.
Okay, but Tom,
so you either support the man or you don't support the man.
Tom, I did not call him ungodly.
Yeah, you did.
No,
yes,
I
you
didn't.
did.
No, Tom,
You
shut up.
no
and let me answer.
godly desire.
Tom, I said this was not a godly act. There's a big difference.
No,
there.
there's
Listen,
not.
Tom,
There's a slight difference.
if you
The
want to
connotation of your statements is clear.
if you want to help someone, the first thing is you got to tell them the truth. and you got to give them the best counsel you got, the best knowledge you got. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm
With
offering,
a
and
hit
I still
piece.
offer.
With a hit
Still
piece.
offer.
But here's the
With a
thing.
hit piece. That's your best advice to Bennett, is with a hit piece, calling him an ungodly man because you disagree with his quarterback call in parliamentary procedure, because you want to send it up to the gubernatorial people.
Are you-
This is the
wait a
problem, is
Here
that
you
we've
go.
got too much swamp going on. Too much from top down. We need some grassroots up. Teach me, gentlemen.
I will
Teach
defer,
me.
I will
Okay, I'm
defer
not
to
gonna
your
do this.
greatly superior
Teach me.
insights, wisdom, and experience on
Oh,
the
teach
Oklahoma
me.
GOP.
I mean-
I'm sorry. Were you done talking? Because I thought
Barely.
you were.
Just
Yes. You're
barely.
heckling now, Tom.
Thank God I'm here to learn from you brilliant Fs. Do
Tom,
it.
You're heckling me now. Obviously,
That's
you're.
why I'm
you're
here. Oldham has something to
concerned
say.
about- obviously, you're concerned
Oldham-
with what. Tom,
Oldham raised his
obviously,
hand.
you're concerned with what I have to say. Else, you wouldn't heckle me if you weren't so afraid.
If Oldham defers to you, we'll hear it.
I would be happy to.
Oldham defers to Van.
Well, if he has anything now
I'm
to
done.
say.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
so here's the thing. David is anything but establishment. The other thing is that the ends never justify the means. Okay? Now we can, I mean, well, I should take that back.
That was fast.
There are things that some people will think are ungodly that are justifiable.
Mhm.
But David makes a good point that you cannot go out and be slandering people and defaming people and things like that, or allowing your people to do that without repercussion.
Yes.
And have it justify the ends. And in this case, the problem is the people who were trying to do that got caught out, because others have their ducks in a row to protect themselves so that they don't get caught out. I try to be that kind of a person, that nobody can question my validity or my morality or anything else, so that if they slander me, I am above reproach. That's what I try to do. And I obviously, David has done the same thing, and provably so. Not just from a standpoint of having just a reputation that is above reproach, but actually got evidence of everything. So I think the issue has to come down to, we've got to call for proper reform where proper reform is due. And I think that's the first thing we've all got to realize in everything that goes on. I was in a discussion today with conservatives who are arguing for socialism. Conservatives arguing for the reform of socialism. I'm calling for the end of it. They're arguing for it. It was public education. But they were arguing, oh, we just have to make it better because, they're our representatives. And I'm like, we got to end it. And they could not understand what I was talking about. Could not understand it. Why? Because they've been fed a false line for so long that they actually believe this BS. And that's what it is. These people have me cussing. And you guys know I don't cuss.
Oh, you cuss, and you know you do. You say barnacles, and there's two other ones. And so you're not that great, Oldham.
That's the kind of thing that we've got to get. If we don't clean our own house, we can't clean everything else. We've got to start personal,
Dude.
and we've got to move out. And so John Bennett needs to fess up and clean up his own house. And if he's not willing to do it, what's going to happen is he's going to fail
he won't fail. The Republican Party that David Vann pretends to protect will fail. Because if we cannot stand behind people like Bennett, regardless of whatever parliamentarian faux pas he has, then this thing is going to be a circular firing squad, like Mary Alice said. I mean, I'm just telling you.
I get what you're saying, but here's the thing. Remember, I'm an ambassador, if you will, for the Constitution.
Ambassador, I came up with that word. Go ahead.
Okay, hey,
just joking.
Thank you very much.
Trying to get over my ego, but it's real hard.
Here's the point. I'm an ambassador for the Constitution. If I am lying up one side and down the other, if I am defaming other people, what does that say about the Constitution? It doesn't necessarily cast it in a great light. I have to be above reproach so that when I speak about the Constitution, I'm actually portraying it. People can count on what I say. That's the point. If John Bennett wants to make the same thing happen, he needs to be above reproach. He needs to be able to get people on board who aren't right now.
The concept of above reproach, in any different situational context is subjective. That is, it is not proper to shoot people in the head. But if you are a Marine fighting in war, sometimes you do things. Okay, so I'm just saying that we have to allow our leaders to lead. Otherwise, we're gonna the good guy finishes last. Oldham.
You're absolutely right. The question is, lead in what? Lead in Langford versus Lawmeyer or lead in principle? Because I can go out and say James Langford violated the 14th Amendment, Section 2. Absolutely, up one side, down the other. There is no question he did not carry out the 14th Amendment, Section 2. No question. I am above reproach. Nobody can say that he did it because he didn't. But he does say what he's supposed to have done.
Oldham, would you be doing a favor to him by explaining that to him?
What's that?
Wouldn't you be doing Langford a favor explaining that to him?
Sure.
If you listen to it, that's a favor.
If he would listen
that's not a hit
it's
piece.
Also a favor.
That's a
yes. And here's the thing. John Bennett can do that, and at the same time, then we, the grassroots, would look and say, who gets the 14th Amendment in Section 2 out of these two people? Who's willing to listen to the Constitution and uphold it because they're going to raise their hand and say, I'm going to swear to it.
You guys are so... As we get out of here, in my disdain for the entire project, you guys ganged up on me. I just feel horrible.
I'm ganging up. Is this my hit piece?
You wrote a hit piece. There's no doubt about that. You guys, after I pointed out your hit piece, you guys ganged up on me.
This is my roadmap. I had no idea that you were going to bring this up, and I certainly didn't talk to Oldham about it, but I gave a roadmap on how to fix this.
I'm just saying, that was a horrible hit piece.
That's the problem.
Horrible hit piece.
Criticism is constructive criticism.
As much as I've heard about protect the GOP brand, that was a hell of a hit piece, man.
Oh no!
So
many times.
Trust me, that was a freaking hit piece. That's all it was to it. Okay, you said 90 days ago you're going to support Bennett, and you hit a freaking hit piece right here.
Okay, I was starting to talk here. You evidently decided.
Everybody gets to say what they want when I shut up.
Just speak. Just go, Dave.
Listen. For a person who wants to actually apply wisdom, I'm offering some wisdom on this. Obviously, some are listening, some are not.
Stylistically, your wisdom came in the form of a hit piece. It's pretty easy.
Well, you rejected it.
I didn't reject anything. I took what you said. I saw the little molehills you built up in the mountains, and then you took it personal and pretended that Al Gerhardt and Bennett have been best buddies for 11 years. And I simply questioned that.
You know what?
Wait. Pretended, Tom?
That's exactly what I said.
Okay.
You know what?
Well, there's an assumption made that is calling into question the veracity of the
I am
piece.
calling into question the
that's
veracity.
separate.
What the hell? I said pretend.
No,
Why are we
that's-
doing
that's a
30
separate
seconds on
issue.
when I said I doubt it? Hell yeah, I doubt it.
Well, therein lies a problem, because they do have a history that goes back long.
I don't
Even
doubt that
I
they
know
do.
Well, wait a minute. So therefore, you're calling into question something that is widely
I'm saying
known.
that the connotation of the hit piece from Van on Sooner Politics suggests that Bennett and Gerhardt work together like best buddies and they're allies, and that's the way I sound when I mock someone, not the way they actually sound. And I'm just saying, I just doubt it. I can't believe Bennett would...
It sounds like you're running a hit piece right now.
I'm saying I was amazed and surprised, and am making sure that everybody understands each of us has our own idea about reality, and we're all sovereign. Soonerpolitics.org. That's all David Van. The hit piece on Bennett. Me, I'm verbalviking.org. .com. I'm verbalviking.com. He is the guy that did the hit piece. Soonerpolitics.org. And then there's the rational one, David Oldham from constitutionalgrounds.com. Other than that, we're middle of the road. Yeah, I was flabbergasted, I guess, at what I saw as a hit piece. Because I'm not an ideologue. I don't follow every huddle. I don't follow every huddle of every play of every team member. All I know is like 90 days ago you said Bennett, Bennett, Bennett. And they're like Bennett, Bennett, Bennett.
Sure. Yeah. And you know
Wow,
what?
that was fast.
That's not what David said.
Yeah.
He's not looking for Bennett's demise.
No, I'm trying to help the guy.
He said he was
Actually,
ungodly.
Well,
I said that was an ungodly behavior.
You suggested the man was ungodly.
No, I did not.
And you named his
minute.
church. You named his
Yes.
church and his city. That was crappy.
can't-
I
That
do
was
my
crappy.
homework, Tom. When I say he's a pastor,
Crappy.
I cite
My
sources
God.
to verify it, or you
That
can
was
doubt
dirty.
that he's a pastor.
That was,
Are
you
you
might
gonna
as well.
doubt that-
I think you are an ally of Al Gerhardt more than anybody else. You are doing dirt by adding his church's name and the region.
Tom,
that
unless
was dirt. That
somebody
was
like
Al
you-
Gerhardt dirt. That's what that
Tom,
was.
unless somebody like you think that maybe I'm just making up the fact that he's
I
a
don't think
pastor.
you're lying. I think you
Really?
conjecture.
Really?
I think you conjecture in
conjecture
areas
is-
that are subjective. That's what I
If
think.
there's conjecture and he's wrong, that's a lie.
No,
No,
it
well,
isn't. He's
yes.
only lying when he knows he's telling an
If you-
untruth.
if you
He can.
slander
David
somebody
Van
based on
is.
conjecture.
David
that is
Van.
unethical.
David
It's
Van.
immoral.
David Van. Well, to your teetotaling, let's see how you stand up next to the Lord's law. But the fact is that Van, not knowing that he's wrong, can say things in conjecture in the area of subjectivity and not be lying. Just like I can say I doubt it about any damn thing he says in his hit piece against Bennett. And I'm not lying. I
Right,
can
Tom.
be taught that Al Gerhardt and Bennett were best buddies for 11 years and then it unraveled somehow. Okay, maybe I can learn something. I'm just saying right now, I doubt it. The connotation of the hit piece on Bennett from Van is that Bennett, a Marine serving our country, is somehow an immoral and ungodly man. And regardless of your damn semantics, Van, you suggested that the Marine was ungodly. And you were out of line for doing it, especially suggesting that you were going to support the guy just 90 days ago. You're a total hypocrite.
What is it? Is it that Marines have a special dispensation that nothing they do is
You have a special dispensation to be honorable to say you're gonna support the guy.
I did.
No, you
did.
had a hit piece on him, and you
Obviously,
didn't.
you don't know
No,
what's
your
going on.
disagreement was parliamentarian, and then you took it out on him personally by naming his church. That was shitty. All there is to it. That was
obviously,
shitty.
we know
I
Tom-
never had Tom,
100%.
Tom.
crappy, and I disassociate myself from you
Tom.
in that rage.
Tom.
Exactly.
You
I was
keep on
totally
Tom,
disappointed.
you keep on referring to some parliamentarian thing. I've never talked to
Yeah.
this parliamentarian since his parliamentarian was ever named. What
Your
the heck
whole
are you-
deal was you
You're
didn't
making
like
this up, Tom.
your whole deal in your hit piece was that he didn't take up the issue of censuring Langford in the order of parliamentary process that you like.
No,
Yeah.
that's not
Yeah.
correct.
You wanted Pam Pollard's idea of taking it to the gubernatorial's level to make sure our betters tell
No,
us.
he didn't
No,
want
I
that
didn't.
either. He
Yeah.
didn't want that.
Yeah.
He's just making this stuff up.
I'm
No.
just responding to your crappy piece that apparently misrepresented anything I understand.
Tom,
it was
the
a
last
shitty piece,
Okay,
that's all.
Tom, the
It's a
last
crappy hit piece,
Tom,
that's
the
all.
last time Bennett and I talked face to face in his office on the 24th of May, he told me he planned on doing that convention this fall to finish up the agenda that wasn't done. That was what was the plan. Okay, it just hit me by surprise that he threw it on the agenda for the state committee, and he hadn't talked to me about it.
He doesn't have to talk to
I
you
know
about
that.
it.
I
It's
know
you're
that.
not even elected, man.
Tom, shut up and let me
What
finish.
the hell? You
Tom,
act like you're
shut up and let
something.
me finish.
You act like you're something you're not, Van.
Tom, shut up and let me finish. I'm just saying, I would have told him, hey, this survey could really help. I would have helped him whip the vote. He didn't ask. He didn't tell me. This just happened, and it didn't turn out right. He does not know party process in the way many of us, including Oldham, who's been part of the process for the last 10 years.
Parliamentary process is what you're arguing, correct?
No, I said party process.
Political
It's the same
process.
damn
No,
thing.
it's not,
Oh,
Tom.
tell me
It's
the
not.
difference.
Obviously,
It's
you're
not.
around today.
Tell me the difference. Teach me, oh expert.
I'll
Only
let Oldham.
experts
Can I?
bleed.
You actually
Yeah,
will treat you more
please, let's
civilly.
see
Go
it.
ahead, Oldham.
There's a big difference between following the rules and being able to sway a group and get a thing that you want done.
Yeah.
Those are two completely different things.
Well, sure they are.
You have to follow the rules, or else you're going to get shot down from following the rules.
You have to follow what people think are the rules.
No.
Yes,
Tom.
it's
Those are
what you
written.
say every week, Oldham. That's unconstitutional. And that's me sounding like that, mocking you. Okay? Everything is unconstitutional to you, Oldham. Okay? Okay? So whatever he's doing that's against whatever rules you think is the problem that the swamp is embedded in Oklahoma. And Bennett is doing everything, in my opinion, to move from the grassroots up. You guys sound like to me, you want to ask for gubernatorial whatever. 6
I
months
didn't.
later, after Langford's already crapped on the floor.
You're
Somebody
wrong, Tom.
has. So you're upset about, he brought it up in a way that is going to lose the vote. And I'm saying as a fighter, sometimes you got to throw the punch. It's not whether you win the vote. You got to whip the vote to win it. Yeah,
No,
sometimes
no,
you do.
no,
We're in
no,
an emergency
no,
situation.
That's not it either.
Yeah.
You completely missed
Whatever.
No.
All right.
It was slandering friends who are trying to actually help you win the day.
And you're accusing Bennett of slander. Is that correct?
Hey, and
Hold on. Hold it. You just accused Bennett of slander. Is that correct, Oldham?
That is what is happening, whether it was Bennett or.
I want to know, damn it,
Yes.
who slandered who? Who was slandered?
David would have to answer that question.
Yeah.
David Van, who was slandered by the Bennett campaign.
Yes.
Who?
And
David
Bennett
was.
apologized for it to me over the phone.
Okay,
And
so
I-
a non-action is a slander. Good enough. That's answered.
No,
Yeah.
you're not listening.
No, there
to
was
That's
him.
what you
There
just
is
said. He didn't
I know.
apologize.
No, Tom. He made up a narrative and approved for his communications director to put out that narrative. It came from him. He agreed. He told me, yes, I approved it. I had no idea that you were part of this. And he said, I'm sorry. And I said, well, I'm going to explain. I got to defend my reputation, what I'm doing. I'm not trying to hack into people's computers. And he said, well, could you hold off on that? I said, fine. I would rather you correct the record so I can complete this research. Crickets. Okay, so he's leaving at that, and he has a duty to correct the record.
And by his inaction, that is the slander, correct?
Clearly, he
No.
Okay, Van, hold him.
no.
Where's the slander?
was denouncing the attempted research
Yeah.
without any evidence, just denouncing it.
Publicly
as
denouncing.
fraudulent.
Yes.
Publicly
That was the
denouncing.
slander, when
Yeah.
in
Okay.
reality it
All right.
wasn't. Now,
Okay.
mind you, I saw it. I have not
I don't-
responded to
look-
it because I didn't trust it. But it's not because of the people who were behind it. It's because of all the other crap that's going on in the world. Now, he could have corrected the record and said, we saw this. We didn't have a clue as to what it was. We now know that the people who are behind it are legit. Get in on it. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that. What they did was they kept on with more and more. A private apology is not a public one that corrects the record. And that is what we are talking about. And that is a public yet personal flight. That is one of several of these kinds of things that have gone on. It's not just one, there are several. And this is the problem that, Tom, obviously you haven't wanted to hear tonight.
No.
But the
Just
point
because
is,
I am contrary to the things that you say doesn't mean I don't want to hear them. If I press you hard, that doesn't mean anything about me. It means you better answer the damn question better. That's all.
wait, who had the spin zone? And
I don't care.
Bill,
I'm so look. I get it. Okay,
O'Reilly.
I am not afraid
And
to
it
be
only-
taught.
Well, no. Here's the point. Was he ended up talking over his guests too because he just wanted to get out what he wanted to say. The thing is, in this particular case, there sin. Yes. Does that make somebody an eternal sinner? No, not in and of itself. Can it be corrected? Yes.
Yeah.
What was the article calling for? A correction.
Yeah.
And if the correction happens, everybody's happy. Everybody gets back to work again, together.
The article did quite a
point.
bit more than ask for correction.
But that's where.
No, it got
is.
nasty. It got Howard Stern dirty. It was
I
a
didn't take
nasty.
I
It
didn't
was
take it that way, but-
it was an Al Gerhardt style hit piece. When you start naming the man and God and his church and his church's city, that was just low. I mean, it was low. That was low. Even if you disagree with him, I'm just saying. I expected more from you, David Van.
Well, I'm not going to just endorse whoever you want me to endorse.
I didn't ask you to endorse. I just asked you not to be crappy.
I'm just going to characterize you the
low.
way I want to. Yeah, this is what's going on. I'm not going to be a sycophant while somebody's trashing me publicly, and I just stand by and idly adore them.
How come I didn't hear you get trashed, but I heard him get trashed? I'm just listening to the wrong outlet? I didn't ever hear you get trashed by anybody.
You didn't see the email, did you?
No, I'm not an ideologue like you, man.
No, it was an email went out to everybody that was on that list. Evidently, you're not on the list.
No, I am not an ideologue. I do run a show called 3D Politics.
I know.
And you are my experts, and I am only one marginal.
I don't think you're treating me like
I am
an expert.
I am only marginally smarter, one shred margin smarter than the people who listen. Okay, so all I'm doing is learning from you. And if I am confused by your hit piece, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that were confused by your hit piece.
I didn't recognize your student demeanor here. I didn't realize you were trying to learn.
Well, just because I'm a student doesn't mean I don't run the show.
Oh,
you know,
you're
I run the
trashing me.
show. You're an
mischaracterized
expert.
me.
You trashed Bennett and did a hit piece, and I'm holding you to the fire on it.
You still don't believe me, or the fact that Al Gerhardt and the Bennett family have been friends for long. Listen,
If everything is true, what you said, and I agree that everything is, let's say everything you say is true, to add him as an ungodly man in connotation, that was ungodly.
the last time I talked to Al Gerhardt, I was interrupted for a conversation he's having with Nicole Bennett, John's wife. Okay?
This
They
is like
are that
Conor
tight
McGregor
still.
telling Dustin Poirier, your wife is on my DMs.
I'm telling
I don't even
you-
care.
I'm
What does that
telling you-
even mean?
I'm telling you, this is an example of how tight that Al Gerhardt has been as a family friend to the
Okay.
Bennett family.
I'm not
You
talking
just-
about Al Gerhardt. I'm talking about David
Well,
Van.
you were. You're
I'm
still
talking about
casting
David.
doubts that
Here's
they
what
had
I'm. No,
friends for 10
fine.
years.
Everything you say is true, Van. What I cannot believe that you did to Bennett was trash him as an ungodly man, even if through connotation. That was crappy. That was low, and that was ungodly, especially to a man who served as a Marine, which you sure as hell haven't.
Well, actually, my behavior must be unto the least of these, and not because of who they are, but because of who I am. And I'm offering him some good corrective advice on how to fix things and get things on the road.
You're not just offering advice, you're taking out a hit piece on the man publicly.
Yeah.
That's just you're underwhelming what you
Tom,
think you're doing.
When I
You're
don't
taking
know
out a
my-
hit piece on the man for a parliamentary decision that he made after he was able to get elected and you weren't. You lost your
When-
election. He won his
Yes,
election.
That's right.
Okay.
When I
but
need
you're
to
just
know-
whining about a guy who didn't do it the
Tom,
way you wanted.
Tom, did you
Your
see any
ego is in the
tears?
way. Your
Tom,
ego is in the way. And I
Tom.
recognize it because I have one.
Tom, when I need to know what my heart is, I will contact you
Mm-hmm.
to find out. But I know my heart. Thank you. All right.
Well, I was very disappointed in that piece, Van, and I appreciate you letting me take you to task for it. And I appreciate everybody being here every week on 3D Politics with David Van from SoonerPolitics.org, separately associated by himself with David Oldham, separately associated by himself at ConstitutionalGrounds.com, and me, the Verbal Viking, clearly able to say whatever the hell he wants, even to David Van, and then learn how wrong I am. So I continue to support Bennett, and I see that Van's support has waned, and I see that Oldham is trying to find some middle ground to explain how I do not get it.
Tom, I still support John Bennett for chair.
I appreciate you saying so, Van. That
Absolutely.
means a lot to me,
Absolutely.
believe it or not.
And believe
So,
it
guys,
or not, almost universally, that state committee supports John Bennett for chair.
well, I appreciate you saying that to save it at the end, Van. All right, we're out of here.
Adios.
We'll see you guys next week.